Okay, recording's in progress. Howdy, howdy. Let's see. So let's just get right to the part where I share stuff. So as mentioned just a bit ago, I'm going to go ahead and assume and guess that the big part that was a struggle with this most recent homework was the get all products. It did basically all the new stuff was contained inside of get all products. And it was a lot of new stuff. We had regex, we had like mongoose, like query filtering things, the greater than, less than, and all that kind of stuff. We filtered and we split and we joined and we paginated. We did all sorts of stuff. So everything else is already done, actually. Like uh, everything in this starter is already pretty much filled out. So we can always go back, of course. And we'll probably, if we have some time and some questions, we can go back. But I think I really want to hone in on what was happening in this get all products, because the answer is a lot. A lot of stuff happened. So we're just gonna get right into starting with the very first couple lines in the function. And yeah, comrade back there is not too happy about it. So first things first, we start off with something that I think is used a little bit throughout the course, but definitely not as explicitly as it is here, and that's object destructuring. It's okay, buddy, calm down. Object destructuring. And so this is already right off the bat something that might throw people off, right? So we call const, we use object destructuring, which I'm actually going to explain here in a second. So we grab all of these different things from the rec.query object. So we grab company, we featured company, name, sort, fields, and numeric filters. And we're going to grab that from rec.query. Okay, so yeah, right off the bat, maybe this is already like confusing people because you might have seen this before, and it's used often in importing syntax, like especially if you've ever used React. This is how you bring in React hooks. But if you're unfamiliar with object destructuring, this can already be like, what is going on? And so I actually made this little object destructuring file to sort of show you how object destructuring works. So I have a little example product here, right? Just got a name, price, and the company. So you're always free and able to set things like this, right? Like you could have create new variables, name and price, and set them equal to the values in this object, right? This is just normal, this is a normal way of setting like a variable, right? You create a variable, assign it the value of something that already exists. In this case, it's the values, like the property values of these in this object, right? And we can check that out here, right? I have a little console log. Let's comment this out, and we can run it. So if I just node this object destructure.js, it's just no destructuring chair, no destructuring 49.99, right? That's the name of the price. But we are also able to do it this way. I need to comment them out because it gets upsetty spaghetti otherwise, like my bird. So check it out. We can actually do it this way too. So if there's an object, right, an existing object, you can actually do what's called object destructuring, and you can grab them with this syntax. And you're essentially doing this exact same thing here. Like when we're doing these, this is actually the same thing is happening. It's not happy with this one, right? So for example, instead of saying const name equals product.name, if you just do const and then put an object and then put name and say it's equal to the existing object, it will automatically say that whatever the name you put here, that's going to be this, right? And here's an example of where you can actually change the name, right? So I'm actually changing it to, now there's a variable called product name that's the same as this name from the product object, right? So product.name, which is this, the chair, it's the exact same as this, right? Saying const name equals product.name. The same variable is being created by just doing name here. Like if I just got rid of this, it'll actually probably get upset if I do that. Yeah, it's because it's actually saying that, hey, this is the same thing. That's why I'm gonna change it back to product name. Yeah, the exact same thing is happening here. I can show you that, right? So we've got a destruction now. We've got product name and price, right? So this one's just like the exact same, right? Just price here. We're saying that, hey, this price named right here is the price from product.price. See, we got Woo destructuring product name, right? Which is the product dot name property. This one here, chair. I've renamed it to product name. And then price, this price here, this price here, this price here, all the same variable, all the same value. Not the same variable. It's different variables with the same value. Yeah. So that's what he's doing in here, right? So hopefully this clarifies a little bit for you. And we could do the same thing here, right? Like I could also just grab, company the same way, right? Like let's comment out this console log. If I were just do const company equals product, same thing. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating a variable company that is the same as product.company. I could do the same thing here, console.log. The company of this product is company, right? This one here. We can run that again. The product of this company is IKEA, right? So this is called object destructuring, right? We're literally taking an object, taking the properties within that object and breaking them apart, like we're like extracting them to use just some of them specifically, right? This is how you import from some libraries, namely React is the big common one you'll probably be doing at some point. So just clarifying what all that does. Let's comment all this back out again. Okay, so now that we got that, so what we're doing here, same thing is happening here, right? So there's a rec.query, which is an object. So we're using object destructuring, and we're grabbing out all of those named values, those properties that are inside of rec.query. We're grabbing them and creating new variables to work with. And so we're going to create a new query object, an empty query object that we can then use when we're, oh, whoopsies, what the heck? Query object. This query object we're going to be using for querying purposes in our test API calls. Right, we're on conditions, yeah, only if if the user asks for them. Otherwise, that's why it's just going to be empty by default. Right, so then we got to check to see if the it also says featured. Nope, featured. There we go. Oh, I just saw a chat. Sorry. Oh, no problem being late. Okay, so now we're checking to see if these things are present. And if they're not, then we just ignore them. But if they are, we need to account for them. So, and again, he uses something that's very common, but might be new to some people. So they check if featured. We're actually going to use a ternary operator here. So query object dot featured. We're going to set this. So that's query object. That's this empty object. We're going to create a new featured property inside of it. And we're going to set it equal to featured, right? And that's, so this featured here is the new property inside of our query object. Whereas this featured is this one up here, the destructured rec.query object. Basically, it's whatever value rec.query has. It's an object, right? It's going to have a featured property. That featured property is going to have a value. Whatever that value is, we're going to set that. It's going to also be the value of our query object featured properties, the same name. So this already right off the bat might have confused a lot of people. It's a little weirdly phrased. And so what we're doing here is we're doing a ternary operator. Might be a strange word. Ternary just means sort of like, how you can be like solitary or binary, right? You've probably heard binary before, right? As in being like two, like one or the other. Ternary is that, but with three options, right? So that's what ternary technically means, is that it's not just two options, but three options. But in this case, ternary means there's three steps to checking it, right? Like for example, like a binary operation would be one where there's just like one thing happens, and then like the next thing happens, like two steps. Ternary, there's three steps. First, it's checking to see, it's checking for a condition, and then it's applying one thing if that condition is true, and another condition if that thing is false. So how you do that is you first set the condition, which is actually this whole thing. It's saying basically here, let me just write out the whole thing and then it's probably easier to explain it. So this is the anatomy of a ternary statement. So what's happening here is this, everything to the left of the question mark is the condition, right? So we're checking to see the state of this condition. Technically, it's truthiness, right? And how we refer to it in coding, right? Everything in coding is either truthy or falsy. That is to say that behind the scenes, if you were to check the like truth value of a thing, anything in code, it is technically truthy or falsy. We call it truthy or falsy because it's not literally true or false, like the Boolean value is true or false, but everything is either truthy or falsy, right? And being familiar with what things are truthy and what things are falsy is important, right? For example, any string is truthy, right? The only falsy string is an empty string, which is why maybe if you're like checking like if like a string, like you can just put like if and then like a string in an if statement. If that string were to be empty, it would be false. And if it's there's anything in that string, it's going to be true. Same thing. Math obviously is pretty easily truthy. Like any correct mathematical equations are going to be truthy, and any false ones are going to be not falsy, right? So like if 2 plus 2 equals 5, run this code, that's never going to happen because 2 plus 2 equals 5 is not is falsy, right? So that's what it's checking here, right? It's checking. So we're setting query object equal to the value of featured. Featured can either be true or false, the actual Boolean true or false, right? And so we're checking, hey, is this query object dot featured, is that true or is that false? And then, so to the right of the question mark, we have the case, the first one before this, in between basically the question mark and the colon. That's what's going to happen if this condition on the left is true. And then to the right of the colon is going to be if that situation is false. So this is a roundabout way of just saying, hey, is the featured property within rec.query, is that true or is it false? If it's true, then featured query object.featured is going to be true. If it's false, query object.feature is going to be false. This is kind of a hard to wrap your head around way of doing it, but essentially that's all this is doing. It's just checking the value of featured, seeing if it's true. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give query object the value of true. And if it's false, we're going to give query object.featured the value of false. Ternary operators can be quite helpful in some situations. Again, it's actually quite common in React. You can do things where you'll maybe check to see the state of like, I shouldn't say the state, check the value of a state in React. And based on like, the value of certain variables you're checking in React, you can have your website, have your page like render things or not render things, have them be certain, I don't know, like sizes or colors, that kind of thing. Okay.
Sorry, my bird is extra upsetty spaghetti today. I don't know what your deal is.
All right. So that's checking query object. So next we are checking for company. So if there is a company, and again, same thing here, right? So if company, so what's actually happening here is it's checking because company is a string, right? Company, it's like there's like a couple allowed values, IKEA, Liddy, Marcos, right? These like different product companies that the products belong to. If there would be no company, right? If the company was not featured, then it would be an empty string, or it'd be null, or it'd be something like that. Not sure technically what it would be. But there would not be anything there, right? And all those kinds of values are falsy. So this if statement would actually end up being false. So if you're wondering ever behind the scenes, like why we're doing this kind of thing, like if company, we're checking to see if there's any kind of existing value for company, because that would make it truthy. And if there's not, then it's going to be falsy. So this one's simple. We're just setting query object dot company to be company.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, actually, he's fighting with this little toy. He has this plastic toy that he loves it and he also hates it because he can't destroy it. That's why he's so upset. So again, query object dot company. We're making a new company property dot company inside of our query object, and we're going to set that equal to company this company from our rec dot query if we include it. All right, so here's where it's going to start to get a little more fun. All right, so if there's a name, if we're looking for a name here, we are going to set our query object dot query object dot name property, just creating it right now. It's going to be equal to regex name. We're adding this options here of I, right? So what's happening here? I means that it's case insensitive. Which means that we don't, yeah, it's not gonna like if we capitalize or don't capitalize things, it's not going to be that strict with looking if something like contains whatever is being put in here. Right. So this is for like matching a pattern. So it doesn't have to be literally explicitly correct. It could just contain a word in the name. And it also doesn't care about it being case sensitive as well. So next one. This one is the where it starts to get really complicated. Right. So if we're looking for numeric filters now. So this one is going to do a couple different things. So if numeric filters, if we have the numeric filters uh property in our query, we're going to do a lot here, right? So this operator map is actually kind of nice. Operator map.
Oh my goodness. You need to chill out. I'm trying to teach people, and you are taking up the whole spotlight right now.
So all these things in this operator map, in this object, are all actual queries that you can put inside of your Mongoose queries. I was looking around for back at General Assembly, we had a really nice little exercise to work on these. I couldn't find it for us, unfortunately. Um, but if you were to do like this, sort of like up here, right, with this get all product static, like these kind of things, the greater than, these are very commonly used. And so having a little operator map here to convert in between them is actually a pretty good idea, if a little complicated. Right, so I'm just going to fill this out real quick. So this is greater than, so that's going to be equal to money GT. And then let's do greater than or equal to, which is money greater than GTE, greater than equal to. And then let's do equal, whoops, equal, which is just equal to EQ. And then we've got less than, which is just money LT. And finally, less than equal to, which is money LTE. Oh, whoops. I left that inside of the quotes. There we go. Right. So I'm going to write this out because I think it's going to be a little bit more easy to explain if I have this all ready to go, right? So here's the operator map. This is going to help convert what we write in our query strings into proper Mongoose queries, like this up here for this like dot find, right? Where the price is greater than 30. Here's what we're going to do. So then we need our regex. I won't lie to you. I'm not super hot with regex. I've actually taken a whole course on it before, and it was so hard. Regex is so scary. So then we're just gonna put in all of our different operators. So less than, greater than, less, greater than, equal to, this equal. Oh crap! I got them all mixed up now. So I have less than, greater than, less than, equal to, equal to. That leaves me with greater than, equal to, greater than, equal to. I think that's it. Then we've got to terminate this with like this. Okay, I think that's right. We got less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, and equal. Okay. So that's our regex. Then we need filters. We're gonna set this equal to a const filters. This is going to be all of our numeric filters that we have. Again, numeric filters is this up here, right? From our rec.query. So it's going to be that, but we're going to be replacing dot replace. We're going to look into our regex. And wherever one of these, we find one of these, we're going to match it with its value in here. Then let's go to our I need a money sign here. So in our operator map, where it matches. Right, so essentially what is happening here is it's taking our queries and it's going to convert them from what the proper syntax is for a query in a URL and convert that into a proper syntax for a query in a Mongo database. So for example, here I have this just this little spoofed request here, right? I have one here actually. Let's look at our params, right? So here I have this. Why is this not showing up? That's weird. Right, so you're seeing here, I have these parameters, right? Like just imagine I'm looking for featured true. We can actually just remove this. So this is what it would look like when we're adding a numeric filter, right? There's a numeric filters property that's going to have a value, and that's where we're going to be looking for greater than, less than, equal to. So we're going to look for things where the price is greater than 40. Right, but this is not proper syntax for querying a Mongo database. It's not going to know what this is at all. So what's actually going to convert into this price greater than 40, I'm just going to put it here in this value thing. It's going to turn into this. It's going to turn into greater than, it's going to be greater than 40. It's going to be looking for basically like a dot find, right? Like looking through all of our instances of our models in our database, you looking with this mongoose query parameter where things are greater than 40, right? The exact same as when we're doing it up here. See this greater than 30 here for the price. That's what it's going to convert into when we put it over here. Let's go to this. We put this in here. We're looking for price 40. It's just converting between those two. So it's proper syntax when we're actually querying our Mongo database and not just putting a query here in our URL. Hopefully that clears that little bit up a little bit for you. All right, so yeah, that's the numeric filters. We're just creating a little map of all the different relationships and then just replacing them in our query. All right, so, but that's for those, right? We also want to, that's not all we're going to need to do. We're actually also going to need to set up our the ones that are numbers, right? Our prices and our ratings. So he sets it up with this options array of price and rating. Oops, what the heck? Price and rating. So again, let's take our filters. We're going to split along commas. If you've never seen the split method before, what it does is it will read a string and it will split the contents of the array of the string into an array wherever there is whatever you put in the split, right? So here it's going to read what's in filters, and instead of being a string or whatever, it's actually going to split it into an array whenever it sees a comma. Now it's not that we have this array of all of our things in filters. we're going to here for each item we see in this array. It's going to include a couple things. It's going to include a field, an operator, and a value. Now, this is something else he does. He actually uses not just object destructuring, but he uses array destructuring, which you are also able to do, and it's the exact same. Whoops, item.split. Oops, equals. All right, so remember up here how we did array destructuring, right? We took an existing object destructuring. We took an existing object and we grabbed its properties and turned it into independent variables with the same names. You can actually also do that with arrays. So that's what's happening here. For each item in this array, it's going to have properties of its own. It's going to be its own array with known properties of field, operator, and value. So now we have these independent values of field, operator, and value. And we need them because we need to check which field it's under, price or rating. So they go if options, if it includes the name of the field, then in the query object at that value's name, again, price and rating, again, we're just setting all of our query object properties to be the proper, like just correspond with whatever the value is in our query object. I mean, sorry, in our rec.query in our URL. Right, so query object at that property, so in price and rating, we're just going to set those values equal to its numerical value, the number, and we're going to create a new number, a number object, or not the data type of number, and whatever value is in there. Right, so with this, we're setting all of our basic ones, all of our basic properties, featured, company name, price and rating. We have to do a little bit of extra for price and rating. Then we still need to have sorting and fields left to do. But any questions so far about the things that we've tackled up until this point? Setting our query object up with all of these basic properties. Any questions? Did you miss anything and want me to go over it again? Because my bird's screaming. I apologize. I have little control over how upset he is. Okay, we're good? Okay. Feel free if you're not, we're not okay. All right, I'm just gonna take another second, let people think, drink some water. Okay, cool. So now that we have all of those rec.query properties going, then as he explains, we can't await something. We need to start the mongoose query, like the thenable query, right? So I'm going to let result equal capital P here, product, instance of our models, dot find our query object, right? So this query object is going to be an object where all of these values, if they're featured in our query, are present. So any of those things, if we're looking for a featured, true or false, if we're looking for the company name, if we're looking for the name of the product, if we are looking for the price or the rating, any of that stuff, we have the logic here to add those properties to our query object so that then we can just fit it right on in here in a product.find. Right, but then, of course, a Thenable like this doesn't just fire off immediately. It needs other things to happen so that it knows to fire off and actually return a promise. All right, because right now it's just returning a query object. It's a promise like Thenable thing. So we need to change some stuff, which is going to be sorting first off. So if there is a sort property, remember this if sort is just checking if this sort here is present in our query. We are going to just sort stuff really. So const, he creates a list called sort list. And similar to up above, we're going to split it along any commas it might have. And then actually join it back together with nothing. Right, so similar to the split, where that splits something into an array, wherever it sees whatever you put in the split. Join will do the same thing. And you could put something in here and it would put that thing in between each of them. But we're just sanitizing it by just joining it with nothing. And then of course, our result is just going to equal result dot sort of our sort list. If there is no sort, then we're just going to sort by the created at property, which is why we put that property in our model. Created at. So if we're sorting, then we are just going to create a list that is whatever we put in our rec.query telling us how to sort things. It's going to sort them that way, split them, make sure that there's no commas, and then just join them back together again, and then just display that list. And if not, we're just going to just sort them chronologically by when they were created. And then we're going to, if we want to select specific fields and include just those fields. So if we included that we just wanted some fields with the fields query parameter, const fields list of the fields that we want. Again, we're going to split and join them. And join them back together. Nothing. Then the result will just be result.select, which is a method that we have access to. We're just selecting from the list of fields. Right, because here it would be something like right, we would have like a, get this out of here. We would do something like this, right? We would do fields, and then we would do like maybe say name and price, right? No space, name, price, like this, price, right? And you see that there's a comma, but we can't actually have that, right? So what we do is we just take all of this, split them apart by this comma, so it's like an array basically that just says name and price, and then it joins them together, name and price, right? So it's just basically, once again, similar to all this stuff, it's just taking what is being given to us from our query, which is not proper syntax for actually looking inside of a database, and then turning it into a syntax that is appropriate and able to actually query a database. Same thing here. So we've got field. Or is it fields? It's fields plural. It's giving me a little underline here, which is how I knew that. Fields. So if we included that we want fields, let's take all those fields that we separated with commas, split them up, join them back together, and then just display those fields. All right. So next, they implement pagination, which I skimmed through a lot of the video because I didn't really feel like watching the entire thing. But if he didn't explain it to you or it didn't quite make sense, pagination is just a fancy way of saying multiple pages, right? Most things, most websites or apps or whatever that you look anywhere in the internet is going to not display all information on one page, right? It's going to split them into multiple pages, right? Like, you're looking at like a list of things on Amazon. It's going to only have like 20 products on it. And then it's going to have, you go to the next page, it's going to have another 20 products on it, right? And so on and so forth. So that the singular page isn't loading a million trillion things, right? That's what pagination is. It's just literally turning into pages, right? So we need to implement that logic. And it can sometimes be a little bit more complex than you might imagine. And sometimes it's straightforward. Here, we're just creating a simple page, right? So const page is going to be, this is going to be our page number that we're currently at. So it's going to be a number. We're going to create a new number. And it is either going to be, if we don't include the page in our rec.query, so if there is no rec.query.page to reference, we use the or property, the or operator rather, to say it's just one, right? So here we're saying, all right, so the page that we're currently on, if we're not saying, hey, in our query, can I go to page whatever, just assume we're going to be at page 1. Then we need to have a limit of how many things are on a page. Once again, we can give our rec.query the opportunity to set that for us. If not, let's just say 10 by default, right? And then we have our skip, which is, yeah, just, it skips a certain amount of things if we're going to the next page, right? If we're doing 10 things at a time, right? On page 1, we're going to be doing items 1 through 10. And on page 2, we're skipping items 1 through 10 and going to items 11 through 20, and so on and so forth. So skip is just going to be equal to the page. Oops, let's actually do it this way. It's going to be whatever page we're on minus 1 times whatever the limit is. Right, this will always work out, right? So say we're on page 1, right? Again, when we're on page 1 with this setup, we want items 1 through 10. If we're on page 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, which times the limit is 10, which would be 0. You not want to skip any of them. Say we're on page 2, right? We want to see items 11 through 20. This would be 2 minus 1, which is 1, times 10, limit. And so then we would skip the first 10. And same thing goes, right? So then we set the result equal to the result dot skip, where so this skip, right, is a method, and then we put inside of here the actual numerical value of skip. And then where the limit is, you guessed it, whatever the limit is, whatever the value of limit is here. Either 10 by default or something different if we set that in our rec.query. And now, at long last, we execute the query. So again, we've seen this bit before. Const products equals await results. And whoops. And we just res.status at 200, hopefully. JSONify that. And what are we rendering out in here? In our JSON? Our products and our number of hits. I don't quite like NB hits myself as a thing. I like count because it's very straightforward, just the count of how many things, but he likes NB products, so I'll keep it that way just for consistency's sake, but I don't like it personally. And that's it. That was most of our time was doing this. But let's make sure that it works, right? Hopefully. So npm start, which is the server. Everything seems fine there. So let's just go back. None of these right now. Let's just try and get. So here's all of our stuff, right? So that's working, right? We're able to get all of our products. But that's without any of our filtering stuff, right? So that's was sort of the whole point. So let's check for featured, right? So we can do this here. We can either do it here or here. I'll do it here just to show you how it works. You set the key here. And let's see all the featured ones, all the featured items. Featured is true. And then it automatically fills it up here for you. Bam. And then we see this change, right? Because without this, right? Without this, we can see that the very first thing was false, right? This leather sofa here. But then we include featured, the non-featured leather sofa, it's gone. Instead, we have this entertainment center, right? We could do more stuff, right? Let's maybe look for this entertainment center, right? So featured is true. Let's look for the name, and let's check that we don't have to put in the entire name, right? Let's just do like ENT for entertainment center. So this should work even though it's not literally the name entertainment center. It's just ENT. Yeah, it works. See? Is one that we can match even harder than that. Oh, this is actually the only featured one, so that's not super helpful. What else? What else can we do? We do the price, right? So it would be a numeric filter, I think is what we called it, right? Numeric filter. I don't even remember anymore. Numeric filters, plural, right? And so say price, uh, greater than something went wrong. Okay, so I probably put this in incorrectly. It should be how it is actually. It's just like this, price 40. Let's see what went wrong. Controllers products at line 40. 40, 40, 40. What's happening on 40? Split 4 item each. So we're getting assignment to constant variable. Interesting. Interesting. Did I? Oh, that's duh. Because I have const filters here. This is supposed to be let filters, right? This is because this is supposed to change, right? We're changing it here, so it shouldn't be const. It should be let. I prefer let myself always. I'm only using const here because he does. But I personally think let is just a lot not always safer, but it is it prevents errors like that. Let's start again. There we go. Now it's working. So now we're only getting things that are more expensive than $40, which is not working because this one is $39 and it's still here. This one here is also not working. What if I did it the other way around? No, it's not changing at all. Interesting. Did I misspell it? Numeric filters. Let's make sure that that's spelled correct. Numeric filters. There's numeric filters here. Let's maybe try with the rating instead. Let's go with rating is less than 4.5 because that's the default. Can we see something less than 4.5? No, yeah, so here's one. The numeric filters, it's not erroring out, but it's also not working, which is a little interesting. Let's put a pin in that. Let's test these other ones, right? Let's go back here. Let's try sorting. So sort. Let's go by price and name. This is going to be like alphabetical. That's why the minus is there. Let's try this. Price 15, 15. So it is sorting by price now, right? Because before the other thing was at the top. It was like $99. And now we have this thing that's $15 at the bottom, or at the top rather. So that's sorting. So sorting is working fine. Let's go ahead and set some fields. Fields. Let's just do the name, the price, and the company. I don't care about all the other stuff. Make sure all that's good. There we go. It's just the ID now. Make sure that this is right. Fields equals name, price, company. Let's try just price. What happens? Okay, so that works. Company. That stops working. What about name? Okay, so it's when there's multiple. that it's running into an issue. So that probably tells us it has something to do with this here. I probably misspelled something. Ba-ba-boo, ba-ba-boo. Well, I debug this. Any issues that people ran into, any other confusions besides this? Because I don't like if people had other struggles or things that didn't make sense to them besides the get all products controller, we can talk about that too. Or if you had any questions about anything that happened here, feel free to ask. While I just sort of look at this and try and debug. So fields split. We're splitting there by fields. We're joining it. Results. It's not plural, it's singular. Result.select fields list. It's all spelled properly. Oh, I see. It's because this is actually supposed to be a space. That's why. That's why. It's actually probably the same thing here. It's actually supposed to be a space. I'm reading the solution now, and it's actually supposed to be. It's hard to tell, right? But I think it's actually supposed to be a space here, and that's why. Because it was reading it all as one word. That makes sense. Let's try it now. Name, price. There it goes. Now it's working. I wonder if that's also the reason that our numeric filters aren't working for some reason. Because these are split along with this. Numeric filters was not having that issue. I'm certain that, oh, this is supposed to be their minus here. That's probably literally the only issue. It's tiny things like that. Always the problem. So let's try numeric filters again. Let's go back to our price because that's easy to tell. The price is less than 40. Whoop, so I'll do one thing, less than 40. So that's definitely still not working because this is 99 bucks. All right. Certainly something here is not working properly. So operator map is probably fine. So greater than, that's right, greater than equal to, equal, less than equal to, that's all correct. The regex might be messed up. Let's see. Okay, so / /b in parentheses. I mean, he has it without spaces, but I doubt that's the problem. Maybe, do I have them in the wrong order? That could also be an issue. Let's try remaking the regex again. So let's follow him exactly. So he does less than, colon, greater than, oh, not colon, pipe, that's what this is called. Greater than, equal to, pipe, equal, pipe, less than, pipe, less than, equal to, and then /b / G. So the regex is good. Make sure the filters, let filters equal numeric filters dot replace with our regex where it matches. Use string interpolation for, make sure this is spelled correctly, operator map, that's correct, at match. Dashes on both sides. So that's all correct. That's all correct. Our options seem fine. Filters dot split, we split them along there, along the commas, although we haven't even done that yet. So let's try this now. Is it the price? That's the issue. Let's test something else. See if that's the issue. Less than 4.5. Okay, we can already tell right away that this is working actually, right? Because that $99 chair is always first, right? And now it's not, so that we can tell something was definitely changed. Something was filtered. And now we probably are only going to get things. Oh, this is the only thing with a rating below 4.5. Well, this is a crappy accent chair, apparently. So, but then if we go back to the price, if we do equal to 99, what happens then? Okay, so we do just get that one. So that did work. Interesting. Let's do less than 99. Maybe there's a problem with the less than or equal to. It's less than 100. Nope, that one's still here. Oh no, obviously this is, let's do less than 98. Nope, it's still there. So equalness works. It's just the other ones that aren't working. Isn't that interesting? Let's go back and look. So filters dot split dot for each. I didn't misspell anything there. For each item in the split, const, we have field operator and value. Those are all spelled correctly. Equals item dot split along dashes. So if the options dot includes that field, that all seems fine. Query object, didn't misspell that. At that field property is going to be equal to an object operator number value. That all seems correct. Every little part of this seems correct, and equality works. The other stuff doesn't. Which makes me wonder, did I misdo these? That's less than equal to. That's greater than equal to. That's equal. Let's try the other one. So equality works. We've done less than. Let's see greater than. Right. So here's one. This second one is 39. Let's see if we do set the price greater than 40. Will that one be gone? No, it's not gone. It's only equality that works. No, it's actually not true. Huh, it was working a second ago. Classic code. Interesting. Oh, it's because I don't have it enabled. Silly me. Okay, so that's working. Let's get rid of this. So now there's nothing again. Let's try price is, what are we doing greater than? Let's do greater than 40. Okay, so all those other ones are gone now. Do less than 40. Right now that $99 one is gone. Okay, so I think it was working and I just didn't have this selected. Okay, so I think I probably had the regex in the incorrect order. The ordering is important. Okay, well, that's that. I think that's pretty much everything on that front. Are there any other questions about anything that happened in the homework? Because I do have one other thing that a student who actually didn't even show up asked me about, and I think it's a good question. So before we go to that, I want to see if there's any last questions or comments or anything about the homework, any part of it. Okay. Well, a student DM'd me and said that one thing that they would like to talk about, because they've been doing leak code questions on top of the homework, because sometimes I've been saying that they've been linking you leak code questions, right? And that's a unfortunately important part of technical interviews is sometimes answering leak code questions. And so I was asked, how do I approach leak code questions? Right. So I actually have one here. So this is just, I just went on leak code and sorted by easy questions and got this one. This is actually kind of a classic one, a palindrome number, right? So we're going to maybe look at how we should be approaching these kinds of questions, right? Because more likely than not, you're going to have to answer at least one of these questions or something very similar to it in a technical interview. And I'll preface it by saying that knowing how to answer these kinds of questions doesn't make you smart and a better coder than others. And not knowing and being not very good at answering these leak code questions does not make you dumber, right? Or a worse coder than others. It's just like in school, right? How they would have you take standardized tests, right? It doesn't always necessarily mean that when you are able to do well on a standardized test, that it's a full representation of your intelligence, good or bad, right? A similar thing here. And also just like similar to a lot of tests you would take in school, it's not necessarily a representation of the things that are going to be important to you in your life. Similarly, being able to answer, return a true or false for this palindrome number is not necessarily going to be an important part of your coding journey or any career that you might have. But that being said, it is an important thing to get a job in the first place because, yeah, this is pretty common to do, is ask you these kinds of questions. So we want to break down, how do we approach these kinds of questions? All right, so first thing first, before anything else, make sure that you know what is being asked of you. I actually did a technical interview maybe a couple of weeks ago, probably longer than that. And I was totally killing it. I was breezing through everything. And then I get to this last long form question, and I think I'm totally doing really well. And then I realize I'd been at it for, it was like 90 minutes they gave me. And after an hour and 10 minutes, with 20 minutes left, I realized I had misunderstood the question. And I was actually supposed to be returning something completely different than what my code was returning. And I'm like, oh crap, I've spent a vast majority of the time, and I teach code, right? And I still made the mistake of misunderstanding and not taking the appropriate amount of time to really understand what it is I'm being asked. So it can happen to anybody. So it's super, super important to at the very beginning, know what it is you're being asked. Restate the problem in your own words if you need to. Fortunately, this one's pretty straightforward. So given an integer, which is going to be represented by x, we should return true. That's going to be important. We should be returning true, like the Boolean value of true, if x is a palindrome, which means it's the same read forwards and backwards, right? Same thing with words like Hannah and race car, right? These are words that spelled forwards and backwards is the same, except same with numbers, right? So if x is a palindrome, if it can be read forwards and backwards the same, return true. Don't return like, the number or something like that. Return a Boolean value of true. And if it's not a palindrome, return the Boolean value of false. All right. So hopefully we've at least gotten through step one. We've restated the problem. Make sure we know what should be expected. Usually they have these examples with an expected output, and it helps here. See, output true, output false, output false. It also has some explanations, right? So 1, 2, 1, of course, is a palindrome. If you went forwards or backwards, it's 1, 2, 1, either way. All negative numbers. This one helps because, see, this one is false, even though it's the same number. It's negative, right? Yeah, if you were to technically do the palindrome of negative 1, 2, 1, it would be 1, 2, 1 minus sign, right? Which is not the same. You don't ignore the minus sign. So this helps us because this tells us that all negative numbers are not palindromes, which we should account for in our code, right? No negative numbers allowed. And then finally, this one's just kind of straightforward. X equals 10. Obviously, 10 backwards is 0, 1. That's not a palindrome. And then just like this other very niche constraint. So X is going to be in between negative 2 to the 31st power and positive 2 to the 31st power minus 1. That's probably not a huge consideration for us at this time. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to that. So then we have to think, okay, so how are we going to solve this? Now, one of the things about the palindrome question is it's similar to FizzBuzz that was given to you the leak code for that a few weeks ago. FizzBuzz is another classic one because, like the palindrome question, it actually challenges the way that you approach your code and you think about your solutions, right? Because the thing about FizzBuzz, right, because it says return fizz if the number is divisible by 3, return buzz if it's divisible by 5, and return fizzbuzz if it's divisible by 15. And they phrase it that way very specifically, and I'm totally spoiling fizzbuzz if you haven't done it already. You read the question like, okay, well then I'll just do it that way, right? Like, return fizz or console log fizz if it's, divisible by 3, then buzz if it's divisible by 5. He's doing the same order that they give you the instructions, but that's not going to work. Because then if something's divisible by 15, it's also going to be both divisible by 3 and 5. So you're never going to get fizzbuzz if you do it in the correct order that they give it to you in, right? So you have to actually think, hey, I actually need to do the divide by 15 first to check for that, because then otherwise we just check for that one, and then we're able to actually get fizz buzz and not just divisible by 3 fizz divisible by 5 buzz, right? If none of that made sense, it's just to say that the palindrome question is challenging you to take a step back and really think about all the possible ways that you have available to you to solve your code. And that's why it's also just important to do a lot of these, because it can actually teach you and show you new ways to approach your code that you might not think about already. And the way that the palindrome number does that is, well, you might be thinking, does anyone maybe have any theories off the top?
Oh my goodness, buddy.
Does anybody have any theories, any methods you can think of off the top of your head, how we could maybe achieve this? Any guesses? Any thoughts? How we could maybe find palindrome numbers? Any guesses?
I'm not sure, but I think the random number, if we divided it, its remainder wouldn't be like zero, right? Always have a one, because like 121 or one, like also 11, 131, at all when we divide it, the remainder we will also have the one reminder.
That
So
would be correct for some of them, but the problem is that it could really test us any question, any number between -2 to the 31st power and +2 to the 31st power. And so we would need something that doesn't just work in some cases, that needs to work in all cases. And dividing it by something is sort of is getting to the correct place, but not quite there, because we would want something, yeah, that because that definitely would not work for all cases. We can't just work with the cases that we have right here. Although it might give us just these cases, it might just give us these, and then it would technically be correct. That's usually how these kinds of questions work. Is it has a pool of possible things it will put in right into this integer to test you, and some might work and some might not work. Sorry, go for it.
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I don't have any other option right now.
That's okay. And but where your head is at is actually exactly what the palindrome number question is supposed to be testing you, because, and this might just again be a example of not having a solid familiarity with all the possibilities available to you, but funnily enough, the best way, or at least not the best, the most straightforward and simplest way to solve the palindrome number question is actually not with math at all. So let me show you. So first off, well, this little bit is math, right? So let's first account for all negative numbers, right? We don't want any negative numbers. So this is simple. If x is less than 0, return false, just off the bat, right? Because we see here, right, due to this one, no negative numbers, right? So if it's negative, then it's not going to be a palindrome, because the minus is going to be on the other side. So now we actually get into it. So what I mean by we don't use any math is that there is a built-in method that reverses things, but it's not available to numbers. It's only available to strings. So what do? We actually take our number. Let's make a new const just called string. And set it equal to our number x dot to string. We convert it from a number into a string, and then we can reverse it, right? So const reversed string is equal to string. Again, we'll split it just like in our homework. Split it along well, nothing. This is just to sanitize it, just to be sure for all possible cases. Then we reverse it, reverse, and then join it again. Whoops. And then we will return. We're checking then what should we return? We should return true or false. based on whether our original string and our reversed string are the same. And we can actually just do this with string string is equal to, oh, not this one, is checking equal to reversed. All right, so this here is just saying checking if string is equal to reverse. Oh, it should be reversed string. Right. So this is either going to be true or false, right? Just the same thing as like, if I did like, 5 equal 5, right? This is true. This is false. Same thing here. Whatever string this is, what's the string version of a number, and this reversed version of it, if they're the same thing, it's going to be obviously a palindrome. And if it's not the same thing, it's not a palindrome. Oh dang, I actually need to log in to submit this. Hopefully this doesn't show any of my personal information. Okay, cool. All right. So this should just work. Whoops. Expected const string equals x dot to string. Expected member name or after declaration specifiers. What? Oh, it's because I'm in C++. I see. Whoopsies. JavaScript. Oh man, I have to do it all over again. Okay. Right. So once again, if x is less than 0, return false. And then so we have const string is going to be equal to x dot to string, convert it. So const reversed string is going to be equal to, we're going to take our string, we're going to split it for sanitation purposes to make sure that no matter what the number is, we properly split, reverse, and join it again. It might not be necessary, but it's generally good practice to sanitize your code like this. By sanitize, I mean this like do perform some sort of operation on it that there's no like weird edge cases. Like same thing if you were to be working with strings, you like always like make them lowercase so that if there was some problem with like a capital letter or something, that's not going to be a problem anymore if you turn all of your strings into lowercase. That's called sanitizing your code. Just making sure that, yeah, there's no kind of like little mess ups like that. And then we just return, and once again, string, is it strictly equal to reversed string? There we go. Oh no, string. I did
think,
str. I did,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then it works. And it did actually give us the same numbers. So you're if you were to do probably a mathematical formula that just did like like you were talking about like dividing or something that just worked for these, this would actually probably pass this. Which sometimes would work. Actually, it was funny. When I first graduated from the boot camp that I went to, I went on this like coding like it's basically this website that you would put yourself and your profile and your resume in there, and you would take tests, and then you would basically, it'd be like a reverse job search. Instead of you searching for jobs, people who are hiring would look for you, and of course you could take these like leak code questions to make yourself look better. And the funny part was that I was doing one and my code sometimes worked, but every time I ran it, it would test different numbers for my code. And I kept just hitting the button until I got a set of numbers where my code worked. So you can do that sometimes. Little cheat code hint there. There is a way to solve this with math. It is more complicated. As mentioned, like this is actually the simplest and most straightforward way to solve the palindrome number thing, right? You might not think about this, right? If you aren't familiar with dot reverse, we would be stuck thinking about math. But in reality, you don't have to keep them as numbers, right? You need to think about all the possibilities you have. And you would maybe know if you did think, maybe say you did at least know, okay, I do know that there is a method for strings that is able to reverse things. How do I then turn my number into a string. Maybe you don't know about this toString method. Well, then you can just maybe Google how to turn a number into string, and then it would give you this. And then you would pretty much have your answer. You could just be like, oh, okay, I'll take my number, go toString, reverse it, and then check. Right? So it's all about, yeah, first understanding what your problem is asking for, what you should be returning, and then breaking down how you're supposed to get there, and considering every possible way, multiple ways that you could possibly get this, and then thinking of the most straightforward one. And then, of course, if there's time, you can always, especially if it's a live interview, you could maybe say something that would make you sound even better, to be like, well, okay, here's my solution. This could probably be more efficient, or this could probably be solved in a more elegant way. I'm just, this works. But if I had more time, then I would solve it maybe this way. You could talk it out a little bit with them to show that you're considering multiple ways of solving the code, not just like the most straightforward way, but maybe the way that's the most efficient, or the most elegant, or the most easy to understand, or whatever is most important for the company that you're interviewing for. So yeah, this was a question that was asked to me by a student, and so hopefully this helped a little bit with breaking down the important things when evaluating these kinds of questions. And maybe you'll be totally stuck, right? This is a fairly simple one, but I guarantee you there's plenty. If I just went to pretty much any other problem on this list, I would probably also struggle with it. But the important part, even if you can't figure it out in time, is the process that you take to figure it out. That's the most, well, solving it is the most important part, but very close to it. The next most important part is the mindset you have and the approach you take to solving these problems. And hopefully, if you're doing it live, not like talking to an AI or something, you're able to talk to the interviewer like I'm talking to you, and you're telling them, okay, I see now that I need to return this. Well, let me see. I need to reverse them. Well, I do know that you can reverse things, but it needs to be a string. So maybe my first step will be to convert that number into a string. And then maybe the interviewer will be like, all right, yeah, that's good. That's where I was hoping you would go with that. And then you work it out, and then you talk as you go. All right. A little bit of extra stuff there for interview preparation. But yeah, sorry to keep you a notable amount of time over. I appreciate everybody staying. I hope that was worth your time. And I appreciate everybody showing up today. And of course, the recording will be up in the repository for all those not too long from now. Anything else from anybody? I'm glad it was helpful. That is why I am here. If I'm not being helpful, if I'm going too fast, or if my bird is too loud, or anything is impeding your ability to learn from me, always feel free to either let like one of the staff members know. I don't mind if you complain to the staff members about me. They're very nice, and they'll just tell me that I'm doing something wrong, and I'll fix it. Or you can message me directly and say that you had an issue. That's totally fine. I'm a big boy, just always letting you know, maybe I'm doing everything perfectly. But if I'm not, always just saying, I always welcome any sort of feedback as to how I could be better as an instructor. Yeah, with that, I think I'll close down the room. And again, thanks for coming in today.